out in the world. To be honest, I'm pretty head empty lately. Too generic. What do we talk about? What's relevant? Something like that. Alright, let's say we get started. For all you VOD viewers or anyone lurking, feel free to chime in whenever. What's your favorite fantasy creature? And what's the myth to go along with it? Feeling bored and stressed, and I would like something to research to take my mind off of it. Haha. Now that's an interesting one. And very mild. Pick a persona. Tarragon. I could tell him to look up Mara and see what happens. That would be pretty funny. Fantasy creatures, huh? I feel like, at least on a personal level, Lovecraft has been a very interesting thing because it's very off the beaten path, right? You can look up fantasy creatures. Really any fantasy creatures, and they're pretty well portrayed in the media, but like a Shoggoth or something like that. Let's see. If you're interested in non-basic fantasy themes, maybe try looking into the Lovecraftian lore. The books themselves are a hard read, but the lore behind them is very interesting as a concept. Yeah, why not? Let's throw out the Persona mention. Also, if you've ever played a game called Persona, everything in it is like a mythical reference. You could easily lose yourself in the wikis there. Glad you're looking into ways to keep yourself busy. I think we're all pretty bored these days. Devil on the toilet? What was his name? Not Abathon. It was like Ben Abaddon? No, that's the slime thing. Who was he? Hey Ptolemy, welcome back. We're off to an easy start today. Belphegor. You know, they always have the blurbs about the Persona monsters too, and I never got around to reading all of them. So I don't know why Belphegor is on the toilet. Yeah, this one's a little too... This one's not a question. Don't reverse Uno me. Let's see. It's just, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I know what are my problems. I know how to fix them, and I keep telling myself that I'm gonna do what's better for me. But at the same time, I'm doing the opposite and making everything worse. It's like I just want to drop dead and be gone. That's a little extreme, I feel like. I don't know what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm doing the opposite. Sounds like you've got a bit of a what do we call that? Self-sabotaging mentality. It's not that unusual, especially for people who are afraid to find themselves too happy in life, which is weirdly a thing. I've been there before. Sabotaging mentality. When you know how to fix problems, and you know that's what you should do, but you always do the opposite. I feel like that's kind of a quasi-anxiety tendency too. It always comes up in the funny ways, right? Everyone's always like, if you like the girl, just say hi to her. But then you don't, and then oftentimes you even kind of overcompensate and actually, you know, kind of act like a dick to the girl you're into because you don't know how to do the straightforward thing. It's usually out of fear. So what do we say to a person to try to encourage them not to self-sabotage? Same time, I'm doing the opposite and making everything worse. It's like I just want to drop dead and be gone. know what are my problems and I know how to fix them. Even if we logically know the fixes to our issues. Execution is usually a bigger struggle at the moment of decision. I'd say try not to over-escalate the importance of things and just do what you can at a smaller case-by-case. Smaller case-by-case basis. Good luck. Try not to be discouraged. Something like that. And we'll use this chicken to to symbolize self-sabotage. I feel like every second it's the end of the world. How do I deal with that? End of the world, huh? I feel like the term end of the world tends to be kind of like an overreaction statement, right? If you feel like it's the end of the world, everything is so embarrassing or so overwhelming that it freaks you out. And so you're in a constant state of anxiety and stress. Let's see, how do we respond to that? Yes. Sounds like you probably suffer from a bit of anxiety and nervousness. Kind of like how any misstep or mistake is a huge deal to you, even though you logically know it isn't. There's always therapy, but if you want to try some smaller steps, I'd say cut back on the caffeine, as it affects people more than they realize. I once went through a coffee phase, and it made me aggro all the time. I couldn't figure out why I was so quick to get frustrated every month. I was like, oh, it's the coffee. And I stopped taking coffee and I acted like a normal human again. I think the thing is, like, we're all kind of led to believe that, you know, this kind of stuff is for normal consumption, which for the most part it is, but, you know, you'd be surprised how much a little affects some people. Let's see, cut back on the caffeine as it affects people more than they realize. Anxiety. I'd also say this stuff becomes trivial once you go through some real trauma, right? Which, you know, I occasionally wonder if I'm weird for never being a coffee person. Tarragon, I don't think that's weird. I think a lot of younger people these days, when they think of coffee, they think of Starbucks, which really isn't coffee at the end of the day, right? It's dessert with a coffee taste. I don't think you run into very many people who'll just drink, like, Americanos. Like, I feel like that's very rare. But yeah, I mean, it's like alcohol, right? Like, if you never learn to like the taste, you never really get into it. If you don't like the side effects, is there really a need to get into it? Probably not. Dude, coffee ice cream is the shit, though. That stuff, I could eat that stuff forever. Let's see. Cut back on the caffeine. Let's see. I would also say also sleep. If you're the type of person who stays up late a lot, try giving yourself more hours. It'll do wonders for your mood. Good luck. I hope it gets easier soon. And get off doomer parts of the internet. Stop watching the news, right? I think 2020 was like, you know, lots of people were depressed during 2020, but I found myself at like peak frustration and anxiety just because of all the shit I'd read every day. And there was always something new and awful happening on the news every day in 2020. Worst year. Sometimes I wonder who I would have been if not for those 8 years in an abusive relationship. I was never perfect, of course, but I was happy, made friends, had a personality, worked hard, and cared. Mediocre would have been enough for me, but even that now is an impossibility. That's a little doomsaying. Isn't the whole point of getting out of an abusive relationship to, like, get back to mediocre at the least? Or at least get out of horrible, right? I actually have a friend who's gotten out of one fairly recently, and she's been kind of struggling with normal life. I think it's kind of like how films portray war vets, and how they kind of struggle with, like, what normal life is after all the freaking crazy they deal with. Like, oh, the bed's too soft, or like, they always get triggered by sudden loud noises because, you know, their instinct is like, oh shit, someone's firing at me, right? Did you not learn from the experience? No, because because as a grown-up, I think I feel like I have some obligation to be constantly aware of things in the world. I've toned down the news reading for sure, but there also isn't as much going on, you know, aside from, you know, the obvious invasion in Ukraine and various other things, but a lot of it's not hitting as home and isn't as relatable as it was back then. I don't know. I got Asian relatives who are like criticizing the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm like, you're a freaking immigrant. You're crazy. That shit can turn on any minority really fast. Anyways, let's help A. Let's see. Sometimes I wonder who I would have been. Let's see. A. Don't be too pessimistic about your life outlook. After all, getting out of an abusive relationship is supposed to make things better. I know it's a tough transition. I have friends who need to recondition themselves to not being tied to an irrational sociopath. I could tell I'm gonna need more space here already. I have friends who need to recondition themselves to not being tied to an irrational sociopath. But there's nothing stopping you from, let's see, building normal relationships now. abuse isn't all that rare, so please don't think of yourself as being broken. That's another thing, right? People who are in bad relationships or divorced, there's like a weird stigma about it, and a lot of it is sort of self-induced. I think I've dated I went on a date with someone who was divorced, and she brought it up as if it was something I should be concerned about, like the fact that she's a divorced woman. And it's sad. It's sad that people kind of feel that way, because my first reaction was just like, good for you. No, you were in a relationship, it wasn't working out, and you got out. Good on you for having the courage to do that. And it's weird, right? Like we don't really question normal relationships. We're not like, oh, you broke up with your girlfriend, well, you're damaged goods. No one's ever gonna date you again, you know? And the only difference is if you're married, you've got like paperwork. Which, don't get me wrong, that's a huge pain in the ass too, but on a human level, I don't see why that should be all that different. Please don't think of yourself as being broken. As long as you work towards, oh my God, towards moving past the trauma, I'm sure you'll be fine. Best of wishes. Abusive relationships. I mean, a big part of it too is it's the confidence. Having your confidence basically murdered by the opposite party, because a lot of what abusive partners do is that they reduce you. They're always trying to make you doubt yourself, doubt your ability to live without them. That's how they sustain the abusive relationship, right? Isolate you from your friends, make you feel like less, even though, you know, you were functional by yourself before you met them. So it's always kind of a sad state of affairs to see how that affects people. Oh boy. Speaking of. Been married for 20 years, but I still have feelings for my ex. We kept in contact, but I always want to see him, and I am still in love with him. Should I tell him how I feel first, then talk to my wife? Because that feels a bit like hedging my bets and still two-timing. I would say that's exactly what that is. Especially if you expect something from that. Right? So here's an interesting detail, right? The pronouns. Well, like, yeah. So bisexual, perhaps. Person has been married for 20 years. Still loves their ex-boyfriend. But has a wife. I feel like this face is like a very weird, like, that doesn't seem appropriate to the situation, right? But whatever. Let's see. So here's the thing. Are you telling your ex because you hope something will come out of it? Or are you just telling him to try to get over it? Yeah, 20 years? Jesus. Because if they've been friends for 20 years, right? Like, I can't imagine the wife doesn't know about this dude. And so it's a very interesting kind of dynamic to have. 20 years to carry a torch? That's about half my life. A little more than half my life. I don't think I've ever loved anyone for 10 years even. Like, that's a hard... Jesus. And why did they break up, right? If they loved them, why did they break up unless this person got broken up with? That's why you don't keep close contact with your ex. I mean, you just don't keep close contact with the temptation away from your marriage partner, right? Like, this just seems... I feel like there are all kinds of bad decisions here. Also, are you... Also, are you... This person is dumb and I don't like them. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of trivialization going on here, right? Like, also, are you telling your wife because you feel guilty or because you want to break up the marriage? Because you definitely shouldn't do that for the former. Unless you really plan to call it off. That's just selfish. And it does nothing but harm your partner. I think there's a lot here. You should be able to figure out if you reread your own message. We're back to harsh words again. Yeah, yeah, a lot of that is like, oh, I still love them after 20 years. Should I tell them and then tell my wife? Jesus. What can I give them to symbolize how dumb they are? Your slime. "20 years, god damn it." We don't run into a lot of selfish type people here, but I'd say that's 3 on the counter. Let's see. This is interesting. Sometimes I feel like everyone in my life, even the closest people like my parents and my girlfriend, are there as paralyzers only? I truly love them, but I feel like I'd be happier disappearing and starting anew. Just get a low-level gig somewhere and make my way up. Midlife crisis? Not likely. This sounds like the kind of thing a young person would say. I think any older person realizes how fucking hard it is to just, like, start life over. Paralyzers. Also the lack of word choice, right? Disappearing. Let's see. Sounds like you're looking to reinvent yourself. Why would you have to take such extreme measures to do so, though? I feel like everyone in my life If your family and friends have expectations of you, hmm, or of the person you're supposed to be, you could always try verbalizing that first. Hmm. Right? It's kind of it's a weird thing. It's kind of like when you play a game that's sort of like a stat building game, right? Like Elden Ring or something. And you always run into that moment where you're like, "Ah, I fucked up this build." And then you just start over from scratch. That's almost kind of the vibe I'm getting from this guy, which I'm sort of like, many people do that in real life. I don't think you can really do that. Starting over isn't all that it's cracked up to be. It would be healthier to just think of it as adding diversity to your experience. Moving moving somewhere unfamiliar or traveling. Maybe all you really need is just some different life experience. Something like that. It's weird. The one yeah, right? Like the chances of them getting a better life than the one they described. Like you've got parents that you love and a girlfriend. A lot of people don't even have that. I can understand kind of feeling smothered by the people in your life because depending on who you're with, you do get locked into roles. And that's not a good feeling either, right? Especially if you want to move past being the type of person you are right now. But I don't think you need to be that extreme about it, to be honest. Oh, that's a tough one. Is there any advice for living with your dad when he's incredibly homophobic and you're LGBTQ? I'm saving up to move out, but in the meantime, it constantly feels like one slip up could be game over. That is an unfortunate situation. I would say, and I'd hate to be saying this, I think the best thing you could probably do for yourself is always have a contingency plan. It sucks, but a lot of kids have falling outs with their parents and are stuck stranded on the streets because they don't expect to get disowned. Saving up to move out. Let's see. Have a friend on standby. Or have a go bag. If you think things could get volatile really fast. Ready, if you think things can get volatile really fast. Mention it to other authorities in your life, like teachers. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not a bad take. I guess it's sort of like when I was going to school, it's hard for me to imagine that that was actually a possibility. Because what would the school do at the end, right? They wouldn't, because the school can't be responsible. Can't be responsible for you. What are they gonna do? Call like child protectives? Also depending on the state, right? Like if this person's in Texas, they're screwed. Especially with like state laws kind of working against people like this. Have a contingency plan, but a lot of kids have falling outs with their parents and are stuck stranded on the streets because they don't expect to get disowned. If you really think things could get volatile really fast. Man, that sucks. You could maybe have hypothetical conversations to try to get him more open to the idea, but it'd probably be bad to come out to him if you aren't prepared. Explicit child abuse, right? And so especially if you've got like dads like that, I mean, it's tough because they could get abusive as a result. Like this guy is saving up to move out, so they can't be that young, right? Maybe close to graduating possibly, but go back. It's hard because like how do you condition people to kind of be okay with that sort of thing? Like for instance, good over a decade ago, easily over a decade, almost a decade and like 17 years, my brother came out of the closet. And the thing was, he was already a pretty well-established man at the time. He was in his 30s, he had a job, he was self-sufficient. And my parents were in another country. So the worst that could really happen was like, he comes out of the closet and my parents are like, oh, what did we do wrong? And blah, blah, blah. As far as reveals go, I'd say my brother's was pretty drama-free, even though he feels like it was one of the worst things. Because at the end of the day, all he got was a lack of acceptance, but it's not like it's not like our parents yelled at him or like, you know, kicked him out of somewhere or anything like that. Earlier in life, they most definitely would have. But yeah, when you're a kid and you're not self-sufficient, that's a tough one. Come out to him if you're unprepared. There are... Let's see. I think there are supposed to be centers for this type of thing too, though. Let's see. Centers for... I remember hearing about this a while ago. Emergency. Let's see. Host home program. LGBTQ communities, centers, yeah. So those things do exist. There are resources. Obviously, they're going to be limited, but it would be a good thing to make them aware of. Into LGBTQ centers as well. I'm sure they will have already looked at it at some point. But you can never go wrong with preparation. Ah, all right. I like a girl. We like each other for 2 years. But I think it's better to be friends. Now, I don't know if she likes me or not. Maybe I don't have to keep chasing after her. ESL? It's a very odd take to have, I feel like. So you've liked each other for 2 years. But you want to just be friends. I get the feeling there's a cultural thing going on. So you've liked each other, but you haven't actually dated. Shoot your shot. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it's almost kind of like they don't, like this person doesn't want to date the girl. Or just wants to be friends with them. So you've liked each other, but you haven't actually dated. But I think it's better to be friends. Have you made a move towards actually dating? Or are you afraid? Are you afraid of going that far? If you still like her, there's no reason not to try. If you still like her, there's no reason not to try. And if she stops being interested in you, there's no guarantee that you'll still be able to be friends. At least if you fail, there's an excuse. And you really can just stop chasing her at that point. Have courage and good luck. When did this become such an easy thing to say to people, right? It used to be the scariest thing to say to anyone. Like, oh, are you gonna tell them you like them? Ooh. You know? And it's kind of like these days, you're like, just do it, forehead. Like, it's easy. Just say it. What's the worst that can happen? Like, you're not gonna be friends if you don't do anything. Because of reasons. Because of reasons like this. Because of the jealousy and what you're afraid that an actual relationship will result in. Well, let's see. I'm at a loss, really. My boyfriend used to have us spend time 24/7, and now, poof, his friends are back, and I'm back doing my own thing, just overthinking. We've talked about it, but I just kept left. God damn it. Again with this grammar. The boys are back in town. Ruining our relationship, because our relationship is only sustainable when there's no one else in the picture. See, this kind of strikes me as a bit of a red flag, right? Like, it's great to want to be together all the time, but like, why does him hanging out with his friends preclude her? Unless there's something about her that makes it less fun. Right? And now she's kind of like, does she have her own friends? Why is it only a problem when her boyfriend's friends are there? Let's see. We've talked about it, but I just keep getting left behind. Boyfriend used to have us spend time. Is there a reason why you aren't allowed to come along when your BF hangs with his friends? And vice versa with your own friends. Seems a little odd that there's this divide that only exists because friends are available. Personal time is good and all, but it's kind of weird when a couple can't function around other people. I guess maybe consider that part of things. I guess maybe consider that as the primary problem. Is there an activity you can only do with boys? You know, it's funny because even the cool girls will go to strip clubs with their dude friends, right? So I'm tempted to say no, unless they're like fucking playing football or something like that. I guess maybe consider that as the primary problem you need to figure out. Because the only reason I can think of why there's like a division is like a fear of jealousy, maybe. Like, no, my girlfriend's not allowed to hang out with other boys. I should be the only boy in her life, kind of thing. In that friend group, who's to say? Even if sports. Yeah, I mean, sports? Watching sports, I mean, if you're cool, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm of the personal opinion that, like, girls shouldn't feel like they shouldn't be able to play with the boys. Like, I've seen a lot of girls kind of keep up pretty well, right? Unless you're like a fucking, like, unless you're boxing or some shit. Like, or doing MMA, I'm just kind of like, no, freaking let the girls play. Like, it's cool. You encourage that shit. But yeah, I think this is more of the weird root of the problem, right? Like, why does having friends restrict your ability to hang out with each other? Especially when they were fine hanging out before. And girls have always been better than me at sports. I'm horrible at sports. Let's see. I was supposed to go to a baby shower for a friend, but realized she never once asked me about my foster son in over a year. I ended up skipping, but I still feel guilty. It just hurts that my friends don't seem to care about my family like he's not real. Curious. I feel like that's a bit of a Oh, sorry. That seems weird, doesn't it? Like, is anyone else seeing this? Because I've got an instinctual reaction to this. Let's see. Let's see. Most people don't think about other people's situations much. Yeah, but it's kind of like, I don't think it's that unwarranted, right? Like, I feel like unless they're coming over all the time and actually interacting with the kid, I don't know, is it a strange thing to ask about a person's family when you only ever see them? Is kind of the vibe I get. Like, because a person is an individual, right? Their identity isn't tied to them having a child or like being married to a specific person. They're still their own person. And so I don't know that it's really that weird of a take, especially if there isn't anything dire going on. Like if the kid's sick, then yeah, of course you ask about that, you know? You're like, how's your kid? How's his broken leg? But like, never once asked me about my foster son in over a year. Seems a little odd. Have you spoken to your friend about this? Or have they had a tendency to steer the topic away if you bring it up? They would probably talk about her family if they met in person. No, that's what I'm thinking too, right? Like, it could just be a situation where your friend never sees your family and so really associates you as a person, as a standalone figure. I don't think it's that unusual. But at the end of the day, communication is key. And if you think it's happening intentionally, you might as well bring it up directly. Better than, let's see. I was gonna say better than being shady, but better than retaliating in quiet, unexplained ways. Letting it stew? Better than retaliating in quiet, unexplained ways. Or letting it build up when it could just be a misunderstanding. Hey, Lemon Thunder, welcome back. It's not bad. We haven't had too many crazies yet. Some people who could maybe benefit from a little more communication with their friends, but otherwise not too bad. How's your evening going? We'll send a balloon to remind them of that baby shower they missed out of petty resentment. Honestly, I think with things like this, like, people tend to, I don't know, I don't ask people about their kids that often. Long walk, good food. Parmesan. Ooh, I love Parmesan. I've been admittedly in this kind of like funny situation since the new roommate moved in, because she's vegan. And so like if we want to eat together, I have to make certain concessions. When you wrote Parmesan, I'm like, can't eat cheese. I can't cook pasta at home and share it if I use Parmesan. It's profoundly sad to think about it. Yeah, Parmesan and pasta, excellent. Make it an additive in your sauce, also very good. It's not even like a topping. If you make it a main component, it adds so much. Let's see. Why not both? Yeah, no, I do both. Don't get me wrong, Lemon. I do both. You gotta use up that whole Parmesan package somehow before it goes bad. Let's see here. After 2 years of therapy/meds, I've done a lot of unpacking. The 6-year abusive relationship I was in. God, another one. Childhood trauma I suppressed. The best friend who made my abuse worse, and more. At 28, I'm done. I'm proud I tried given the circumstances, but I'm too weak and tired to try again. Before it hardens into a brick, yeah. Brick cheese ain't bad too. I actually like the hard cheeses. Man, abusive relationships today. What's up with that? I feel like the problems we get on here are very seasonal, right? Like, depending on the time of year, you're bound to get more specific questions. Winter and spring, very relationship heavy. End of spring into summer, a lot of school and work-related concerns. Let's see. A. There's no shame in giving up bad relationships. I think it's an unfortunate circumstance that society trains us to try to work hard at keeping things that are bad for us. Society trains us to think we can overcome anything with just hard work. I think that's more accurate. Good on you for treating it, for acknowledging your problems and treating them. I've been there before, so I know how hard it is to make that decision. Childhood trauma, abusive relationships. It's actually kind of interesting because every time my parents visit, we tend to have this conversation about my upbringing, or like the upbringing of mine and my siblings. And basically kind of having to explain to my parents how the way we were raised was not good for us and how we all kind of came out damaged, which I don't think is an easy conversation for any parents to have, but given how none of us have kind of grown up into sort of the stereotypical ideal, I think they kind of have no force but to accept that matter. So I wonder if this person's getting closure with their parents. Been there before, so I know how hard it is to make that decision. Just don't let the awareness of it stop you from trying to build new good relationships. And maybe at some point you'll be able to have an understanding, talk about it with your family. Keep it up. I'm happy for you. Yeah, no, 28, I mean, it's pretty young still. I feel like I didn't really reach that point of enlightenment in my life until I was like 35, 34, somewhere around there. I mean, it's hard. You don't really realize these things unless you meet people outside of your immediate influence, and then you realize how strangely they're looking at you about it. Oh god, this one again. Maybe there aren't too many problems out in the Oracle. Oh god. Oracle? We're back to IT problems again? Shit. People have probably not been doing much these past few years. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. Sorry, I'm just really like, damn, technical certification questions, unkind words. Incidentally, I have been taking IT certification courses, so I kind of know what they're talking about. Went from confident to unsure if I could pass. X. The thing I've noticed about these technical exams is that your practice tests will be vastly different depending on where you get them from. I would say study with at least 2 different exam material distributors. And if you're averaging above 90, you'll probably be fine. Try not to psych yourself out too much. A failed exam is also experience, even if it costs a bit of money. Good luck. Don't forget to get an exam voucher, exam coupon voucher from one of the Udemy instructors. Something like that. Little known fact, almost any educational system has discounts for your certification exam. Have your IT exams, do they have waiting periods? The first failure does not, but I think the second one requires a month. Which isn't that unreasonable, I suppose. You just don't let it get to the 3rd exam, right? But the nice thing about certification exams is they're not tied to a curriculum or anything like that. You can literally take the exam at any time, even like at 2 a.m. because of online proctoring now. So, I mean, it's not the scariest thing, I would say. Oh, fishbone. That's new. I would say, even if you fail it the first time, you at least gain information and it's not as scary the next time. That said, I took a certification last month and I was so damn sure I was going to fail it. Like, I've never felt so sure in my entire life that I was going to fail a test. But like these things, they tend to have a pretty flexible passing limit. I think like 60 or 70% and you're good. So passing is literally passing. Let's see. What do you usually do for your birthday? When you're depressed, you should always try and think of happy things to cheer you up a little. And I feel like your birthday should be a very... Oh, what the This is bullshit. See, I thought this person was going to, like, go into this question about, like, not knowing how to handle their birthday, or, like, habitually being unhappy on their birthday. I was excited about that one. Instead, they reversed Uno card me. They're like, tell me about your birthdays. God, these people. Just be happy, Lols. XOXO. Projecting a bit. Yeah, I mean, Lemon Thunder, I've got opinions on the matter. And I know I'm not the only one too, because there are a lot of people growing up as a person with low self-esteem, you are the last person who wants to celebrate your own birthday. So you often, like, avoid it. When people are like, yeah, I probably dropped birthday lore at some point. It's one of those things where, like, your friends are weirdly more enthusiastic about your birthday than you, and it somehow makes you, like, hate it even more. I one time saw, like, my coworkers congregating at my desk, and I was like, fuck this shit. And then I turned around and walked away because I didn't want to, like, have them sing. Having people sing happy birthday to you is one of the most weirdest situations, because you're standing there, everyone's singing, and you're like, okay, do I sing too? What do I do here? I just have to wait for like 30 seconds for this song to be done. They're singing. Some of them are like bopping their shoulders to the rhythm of the song. And you're just forced to sit there awkwardly being like, yeah, it's my birthday. Yeah, I'm an adult. Yeah. Especially if those people are coworkers. I saw that happen at my first job and decided my birthday would be a secret. Seriously, it's the worst. When people like overdo the birthday celebrations. Ugh. And it's people you don't really know that well. It's awful. Let's see. All right, next question. I struggle meeting guys who don't see me as only a potential partner. Free crap as a consolation gift, probably not the worst thing, if they can be bothered. I mean, there's corporate cake, right? Your office is always has this weird budget for like Ralph's cake, but it's just that stop and everything, and then people want to talk all of a sudden who, you don't really talk to. And they're like, oh, how old are you now? Blah, blah, blah. Happy birthday. What are you going to do? And then you have to be like, I don't have birthday plans. I was just going to go home and watch TV. And then they're like, oh. And then it's awkward for a bit. That's kind of what it's like, because it's especially worse too when you don't have birthday plans for yourself, and like you don't want to call out your friends, or your friends aren't like that aware of it either, and so your over enthusiastic coworkers are like, oh, you've got to be doing something exciting for your birthday. It's your 30th birthday. You've got to do something. And I'm gonna like, no, I'm just gonna go home and do a couple hours on the exercise bike, and then, just eat dinner. And then they look at you like you're the freak, like there's something wrong with you. So yeah, admittedly, Lemon Thunder, I am projecting a bit, but I've got strong feelings on the matter. It's like the sad shaming thing. Alright, anyways. Let's get back to this poor girl who just wants to To make friends with dudes. Let's see. I struggle meeting guys who don't see me as only a potential partner. Don't see me as only. Wait. Is it actually the opposite? Struggle meeting guys who don't see me as only a potential. So she doesn't want to be seen as a friend? I've always struggled talking to guys to begin with, but have gotten slightly better over time. However, now I feel like they aren't genuine and see me as only one thing. If I'm not theirs, they leave. Okay. So misexpressing on the first line, but we got there. Struggle meeting guys who don't see me as a potential partner. Let's see. Jay. That sucks. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that dudes are still like that for the most part. So here's the thing, right? Because my first impulse reaction would to be like, you know, just drop the bomb on them first, right? Just be like, I'm unavailable, or like, I'm not interested in dudes. No, that would be lying. Right? You can't start a relationship under deception, right? Like, that's not a good thing either. See me as only one thing. You're telling them to drop a defensive gay card. That's why I stopped myself, Lemon Thunder. But yeah, that's not good. That's not a good way to go. We can't use gayness as a shield like that. Let's see. So that's the tough part, because I often feel like, and this is it's a tricky thing for me too, because I often feel like you're either forced to be so defensive you can't make friends, or you have to kind of open yourself up to that situation. Some of the best interactions and like very good encounters I've had with women were women who are married. They're the best. They're the most fun people to talk to, because they're not afraid of you and they're not looking at you with suspicion. And they're allowed to be fun and charming and everything, you know, women should be able to be without the fear of, like, you know, dudes being dudes, unfortunately. So how do you inspire that? How do you make it so that is easier for them? My other instinctual reaction was like, you know, maybe the dudes you try to make friends with would be the dudes who would feel awkward about trying to date you, right? And that would be like, at first I was like, significantly older men, but unfortunately, significantly older men are kind of creeps like that too. So that's a tricky thing. How do you just make friends? And it's a lot easier for guys, unfortunately. Only befriend gay men. See, you just flipped the defensive gay card on me, Lemon. Oh God. I mean, I think How do we It's almost like you have to rule out the idea of a relationship from the get-go in order to proceed under the desired pretenses. Because the last female friend I made with like minimal drama, who was single, was a friend who was very upfront about everything. We actually met on a dating app. And like after we went out a couple times, she was very upfront. She was like, "Listen, I'm not really interested in you that way, but I'd still like to be friends." And the thing was, like, up to that point, she was very upfront about meaning what she says. Like, and so at which point, my only recourse is to trust that, she's being honest about everything. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'd like to be friends with you. Would you still hang out? She said yes, and we did keep hanging out. And that's why we're friends. And usually it doesn't go that way. I think most people will say, like, I'd like it if we were just friends, but then they'd recoil at the idea of hanging out with you a lot. Because when you're making friends, you have to hang out with someone almost as much as if you were dating with them. But yeah, I mean, it's about the upfrontness, right? It's about the upfrontness. I think what would go a long way is to be able to give an air of always meaning what you say. I think a lot of times dudes consider the romantic angle because the terms of the relationship aren't always straightforward and clear. Keep meeting people. Not everyone is weird. I mean, it's true. It's just very obviously this person seems to deal with this problem a lot, right? And so I'm just trying to think of what's a good way to mitigate. Because you could always curb your results based on how you enter a situation. So terms of the relationship aren't always straight and clear. Therefore, I highly recommend bluntness. It'll weed out the opportunists early, at the least, so you don't waste time investing. Something like that. Yeah, honestly, if I feel like I wish being frank like that wasn't also kind of rude, right? Like, to all those women that I just wanted to have conversations with, I wish I could just say, like, I'm not trying to date you. Like, chill the fuck out, you know? Or like, you know, I'm not trying to hit on you. Like, I want to just hang out. And if you just when you bring that up, it gets weird. Whoa! What is this? Are you guys seeing this right now? When will the goddamn COVID end? Sick Americans. Why they create this virus? Do you think, like, the Russian propaganders have infiltrated kind words? Or do you think this could possibly be Chinese propaganda? Curious. I've never seen that take before. Because, I mean, America always blames China as if they're the ones creating the virus, right? So you think this is like a counterplay? Huh. Fascinating. Alright, baby shower. Jeez, we're getting a lot of repeats today. Ah, God. Yeah, I think people are too happy this week. Okay, here we go. God, this game is getting boring. Everyone's so damn content with their lives. Let's see. Vibes are too good. Alright. I hate working. I think it's killing my soul. People around me find this thought funny. Is it me being too idealist here? I do have a high-paying job, but I'm scared one day I just can't feel anything anymore. Becoming a working machine. If you're getting too many good vibes, hop on a fighting game and start up the Salt Shakers again. Yeah, I was thinking about doing that pretty soon. I didn't want to do too much fighting game streams because, like, there haven't been, like, you know, a lot of the chat hasn't started playing the game yet. But I'll get into random matchmaking. I'll probably do that for the next stream. I actually encountered my first Rage Quitter, and I was just like, whoa. Rage Quitter on PC? Like... Because I feel like a quick shutdown on PC isn't easy, right? Like... Nobody has the Ethernet cable just available on their setup. Like, you can't just, like, quickly run out there and unplug it. See, on a PS3 it was easier because you could just, you know, hit that PS button and just shut down immediately. I don't know if that's good for your computer just to hit the power button like that. But yeah, I thought it was funny. First one I ever encountered. Let's see. And I think people find your concern funny because it's something everyone feels to a certain degree. Have you ever watched Office Space? It's an incredibly relevant movie. There's a nice way to say, is there a nice way to say get a hobby? No, I mean, actually this is a common problem, right? It's the work-life balance. Honestly, it's an issue of work-life balance. And unless you really love your job, I don't think living to work will get you too far. Honestly, I think most people get by knowing that the job offers them the means to do what they love outside of it. Which is, yeah, as Tarragon says, get a hobby. Honestly, I think most people get by knowing that the job offers them the means to do what they love outside of it. So pretty much find something out of work. Let's see. So you pretty much just need something outside of work to find fulfillment. Yeah, something like that. Working to live, living to work. Admittedly, at least I feel like I struggle with that too. Because I do think sometimes I'm like, God, I wish I. Sometimes I'm like, would I be happier if I just had a low paying job that was like really easy and just live out the rest of my days like that? But then I'd die poor and on the streets and wouldn't be able to support myself as an old geriatric. All I can offer are short-term solutions on that issue anyways. Alright. I want to say LG after one more after this one. So 2 more. It is a school night after all. I gotta go to the job that's slowly killing my soul. Let's see. I tend to fixate on things a lot. It doesn't negatively impact my life. I still have other hobbies and social contacts, etc. But why do the things that help me, that I love, start hurting like it's too much happiness? Why just want to enjoy content calmly, not feel this ache? Interesting. I think people who feel this way feel like they're not doing enough. And so they have a complex about it, right? Overachievers, if you will. Let's see. Yeah. Sounds like you suffer from a case. Sounds like you suffer from a case of I don't deserve happiness. Even if it's a little mild. It sounds... Even if it's a little mild, it's a very common reaction to people who are uncomfortable with having things too good. Almost like you're not used to it. Which I suspect is probably the case here. They're not used to having life be good. Which leads me to suspect, did you have a rougher upbringing perhaps? Or maybe a lot of pressure put on you to work harder than necessary. Could be worth looking into your history to rationalize this feeling. If you understand it, you can start rationalizing against it and work towards making it normal. Towards being okay with things. Long form of just kind of saying maybe see a therapist, but that's more or less the fundamental concept, I think. There were definitely times where I felt that way. Like I would always be suspicious about being good or receiving good feedback or for things going well. Like I think back when I was doing the YouTube stuff more regularly, Google actually like sent me a partner invite. They're like, you can join the YouTube partner program. I'm like, why? Like, why would that happen? I just make stupid commentary, stupid match highlight videos on fighting games. Why would something like this happen? But someone did point out to me that, like, I only think it's weird because I have, I can't possibly accept the idea of good things happening. Counterpoint, you can get sense for doing that dumb stuff. True. I did get, like, I think overall I must have got about $20 throughout that whole time, which wasn't bad. I think the YouTube and the streaming, those financed a Snowball microphone and like Persona 4 dancing all night. So we got some returns out of that at the end of the day. Oh god, too funny. I always wonder if I started later in life, maybe I would have stuck to it and become a proper streamer or something. Let's see. Last one. And I think this is a relationship issue. It took me so long to find someone that I could relate so many things with, only to get rejected. And I'd love us to stay friends reply. I respected their choice and stayed friends at the moment. Do you think there's any hope in the future? We only know each other for 7 months now. They managed to stay friends for 7 months? That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Go fish for sure. It's an interesting situation here because I personally don't think it's pointless to stay friends with them, but definitely don't do so with the intention of trying to get with them eventually. Friends, pretty cool, yeah. No, I think one of the most disappointing things I've kind of experienced among friends is that like that last girl I talked about who, I went on a date with and we just ended up being friends. My other friends used to be like, "Why are you wasting time with her if you're not going to end up dating?" And I'm kind of like, why is it a waste of time to actually want to have friends and hang out with friends, And there's a certain irony because it was also my female friends telling me this. And I'm kind of like, well, we're not gonna fucking date. Should I just not be friends with you either? So, I don't know. It's funny how there's that kind of expectation that's put on people, right? Don't hold your breath, go fish, but, you could always stay friends too. Good on you for taking the offer and actually being able to stay friends. That said, it's not good to be friends with the hopes of her turning. Oh wait, we don't know it's a her. It's not good to be friends with the hopes of that person changing their mind again. You should still seek other options. No, that doesn't sound right. Hopes of Good on you for taking the offer and actually being able to stay friends. That said, it's not good to be friends with the hopes of that person changing their mind. If they hold out hope, they're gonna turn bitter. No, it's true. Yeah, that's the worst part, right? They're like, can we be friends? And then the guy's still hopeful. They're like, yes, I can change her. And that's never a good way to go. It's not, let's see, it's not unusual to have residual interest, but just be aware that it's not healthy or productive to keep it, to cultivate it, or to maintain it. That's a good term. Keep fishing. And try to find someone who will see you the way you want to be seen. At the least, your friend will be a supportive resource and might be able to help you in that endeavor. Do you think there's any hope? Personally, I don't think there's any hope because in my experience, women know pretty fast if they want to consider you romantically. I don't think it's very low odds. Like, if they shut you down for like a circumstantial reason, like I need to focus on my work or like, you know, things like that, maybe you've got a chance. But I think normally if they're like, I don't see you that way, can we just be friends? That's kind of it. And might be able to help. Hell, she'll probably be your wingman. Something like that. And those people, the people you start off dating and end up friends, they are very supportive people. Especially if they really mean what they say when they want to stay friends. Nobody's as excited for you to get a different girlfriend than them because they're like, oh good. I don't have to worry about sexual tension or anything that they might be interpreting. And then everyone wins. We'll give them this happy dinosaur. All right. And that's all for tonight, folks. We'll check on the initial request, see what the deer has delivered for me. So today's concern is about personal solitude. And lately, I've realized it's been over a month since I've hung out with any of my friends. Admittedly, I've been busy with the new job and having the roommate move in, but it's like, it's gotten so damn easy not to meet people, but also not to be bothered. Old man jmoonies huddled in his cave. Pretty much. I mean, if the cave has fiber optic, you're pretty damn good. But yeah, I don't know. I think, I'm wondering if it's an age thing or not, but Yeah, so my request reads, sometimes I wonder if hermit life is good enough these days. I'm pretty old, and lately I've been lacking the motivation to reach out and hang out with people. My friends don't reach out either, so I wonder if that's just a thing that happens for us now. It's not necessarily sad, but, you know. Turns out it takes effort to maintain long distance relationships with friends too. Yeah. No, that's a thing, Lemon Thunder. Like, my roommate, like, was someone I met here almost 7 years ago. And she's been in New York the whole time. And, like, I barely even spoke to her at all until she was moving back. You can kind of get back into the swing of things pretty easily once you're regional, but when they're somewhere else, it's kind of like you lack object permanence and they just don't exist until you see them again, which is kind of funny. I've got a couple friends, a married couple who moved out to South or North Carolina, who I haven't seen for 4 years now. But it's like, yeah, you have nothing really to talk to on the day-to-day until you actually see them in person. Let's see, what does B have to say? Staying alone is an enjoyable time, yet we still need to attach bondings with friends. Sometimes chatting with friends intermittently might be a better option for you to keep in touch rather than going out. I didn't really contact with my friends frequently too due to my personalities. My personalities? But we will still keep in touch every few months, I think. Also, if your friends don't reach out much, maybe you can be the one who asks them. I mean, it's not like I don't want to reach out until they reach out kind of thing. I just kind of suspect that as people in their late 30s, getting close to 40s, maybe that's just the way we are. Trying to get myself to put in more effort to keep in touch with at least somebody. Yeah, Lemon, it's a tricky thing, especially, like, gaming used to be a very easy avenue for that, right? Hop on Xbox Live, jump on the headset. You don't even need to talk about shit. You just need to have your stupid video game adventures together. And nowadays, it's all about the single-player games. So what do we have then? We've been too polarized. You've got, you know, Among Us, which requires you to have 10 friends. And who has 10 friends, really? And then you got It Takes Two, which is a game you play with your significant other. So that's screwed too. So we're just stuck with Elden Ring. And I just use Summoning Ashes for that one. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird time philosophically for that. Let's see. Hi Jay, letters like this make me wish there was some way to re-reply, as I'm so curious what qualifies as a pretty old hermit. I imagine a homesteader at 72 in a cabin in Ontario, Canada, playing kind words, and it makes me smile. In any case, as I've gotten older myself, I've found that most people are just not good at maintaining friendships, that I have to work harder than ever to maintain old bonds. It's worth it though. We need people we knew when we were young. You've been diagnosed as a boomer. Yeah, my new internet identity is that I'm a 72-year-old man in Ontario, specifically in Ontario for some reason, right? Oh, that's funny. I dig that, I dig that. I'll send them a dry bones fish to symbolize the age. But that's it for tonight, folks. I would like to imagine if, God, I would love it if more older people played this game, though. It would be nice, because you would really get some good advice out there in the world. But yeah, thanks, folks, for dropping by on this lovely Monday evening. I'll try to do fighting games for the next stream. It's been really crazy, at least for work and adjusting to a new job. Like, I've literally been tired every day for like the last few weeks, and I haven't been able to get much sleep. But hopefully things will even out, and I'll get back into my usual groove. Thank you guys for dropping by as usual. Tarragon, Lemon Thunder, Ptolemy. Hope to catch you guys next time. Hope you guys start playing Persona. I want to get a lobby going. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weeks. Make good decisions. Be kind, be excellent to one another, and yeah, have a good night.
Impossible! How could I fall to this drudgery?